And just like that, their paths were set. It meant that Junpei would be away from June for a time, but it had been his choice, and he would have to make his peace with it. I didn't want to go with Seven and Lotus, though. I messed up. Seven had said they'd all see one another again, and Junpei believed him. Ace, Santa, and June headed toward the central staircase and the number 1 door. Clover followed them. After seeing them off, Junpei, 7, and Lotus stepped into the elevator behind them and descended to the bottom deck. They stepped off the elevator and headed for door 2. One by one, they put their palms onto the recognition device, and 3 asterisks blinked to life on the screen. The door opened, and they leapt inside. Fortunately, it took them only moments to find the dead. It had been placed just inside the room right next to the numbered door. They gathered around it and quickly scanned each of their bracelets. It stopped. Yeah, it stopped. Junpei could feel his heart pounding against the inside of his ribs. Seven and Lotus were breathing hard and fast. It was the 3rd time they'd been through the process that they had yet to grow accustomed to. Not that Junpei wanted to. He planned to finish the game before he got a chance to let imminent death become commonplace. Junpei looked around again. It was a short hallway with 5 doors along the walls. There were 3 doors along the left wall, and a single door on the right. At the end of the hallway, the 5th door was covered by a thick metal plate. Junpei didn't think they'd be able to open it. After taking a look around the room himself, Seven spoke. Alright, let's get started. I think we probably better split up. You two okay with that? Yes, no problem. Sure thing. Seven nodded to them and stepped into the room closest to him. Lotus looked at the door for a moment, then headed for the one in the center. At last, Junpei was left alone. Well, I guess I'd better get started too. He looked intently at the remaining 3 doors. Confinement room from hallway. Okay. The hell's that supposed to be? Like a drawing of a whirlpool or something? Well, if I had to guess, I'd say it's trying to look like water. There's a drawing on the mirror that looks like... okay. Huh? It looks like the water doesn't work. Doesn't matter how much Seven turns that thing, no water's coming out. Has the water been shut off from somewhere else? The tile stuck in the drain. There's a little tile in the drain. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to pull it out of there. Might have to use our heads on this one. Alright, let's figure these things out. Alright. Gotta find something to get the tile. Toilet paper roll. Don't even need this for anything. Oh, wait. Where's this thing? Here we go. Did I take the little handle part? Yeah! Alright. Screwdriver shaft. Okay. Cool. Anything in the toilet? It's like a toilet. Alright. Pretty old toilet. I guess that makes sense though. This ship seems pretty old. A symbol on the toilet lid. Seems a little fishy to me. It's a sun symbol, but it doesn't look like the ones on the doors. Interesting. Dirty blanket on the bed. That is a mess. It's not even a bed anymore. Can't say I'd want to sleep there. Is it like, can I get like underneath the bed? No? Okay. Okay, let's just go here. How do I do this again? How do I, like, it's equipped, right? So how do I, like, stick the screwdriver in there? Or wait, or do I? Oh, it's missing the handle. Okay, so we gotta get a handle. Okay. Is the handle in this room? And if so, where? Hey, this handle's pretty loose. Loose? You think it'll come off if you pull on it? It fell off. Oh, look at this. This handle doesn't really fit the string. Maybe it wasn't meant to be attached to it. Combining. A screwdriver. Alright, let's get back. Let's see if this works now. Probably not. Nope. Okay. So let's see. Can I use it on this? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, there's more. It's not opening. There's something up with the drawer. I don't trust it. What if we use the screwdriver? Drawer wouldn't open. Okay. Sweet, got the screws off. Now we can open the drawer. There's nothing in here. Maybe the drawer's what we need. Drawer, huh? Alright, let's yank that thing out. Okay. Okay. So we got a drawer now. Okay, I think that's probably it for this room, if I had to guess. Okay. Wavy blue lines on this mirror with blue paint. Is that a drawing of a blue scarf? No, maybe not. Alrighty then. Drain is kind of weird shape for a drain. Just for fun. Okay. Alright. Let's check the bed this time. Oh, there's something there. That's a towel, apparently. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Okay, sun and moon. Moon. Filthy, disgusting moon. It's pretty filthy. It's a precious hint. Let's remember it. I refuse to touch this. I refuse! What the hell's wrong with you? I don't want to touch it ever. Alright. Seems pretty old. How the hell can you touch that? It's horrible. I don't got a choice, do I? It's not like I want to. Okay, that looks to basically be the end of that. Ah, le handle. There's nothing in the drawer. Yeah, something's not right though. The handle in the drawer doesn't really fit. Looks messy. Okay. Can I combine this with this? On the drawer to center the handle, maybe I can... Hey, there we go. Okay. So what about this one? Oh wait, I don't have the screwdriver anymore. Aww. Phooey. Okay. Sweet, the handle I got off the drawer fits onto the faucet perfectly. Now I can turn the water on. Junpei, what are you doing? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? I'm running the water. I can see that. I'm asking you why you're just letting it run like that. Think about it, Lotus. This faucet didn't have a knob when we found it, right? What do you mean? Just watch. Anytime now. Hey, water's filling up. Doesn't that just mean the pipes are clogged? Let's turn it off for now. So did anything change? The water stopped flowing. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. Junpei, I'm leaving this one to you, alright? I think it's totally filled with water. That is correct. Okay. Can I not, like, do anything with the pipe? Apparently not. Okay. Oh, what if I do this? Flush the toilet. Yes, let's pull it. Pull it. Nah, okay. Okay. Towel? Maybe if I go back to the other room, maybe the water pushed up the tile? I doubt it, but... Hey, it did! Okay. Interesting. The wet tile into his pocket. He was about to turn away when there was a noise behind him. He spun around to see Seven kneeling on the floor. His face was rigid and pale. Droplets of sweat covered his forehead. Hey, what's going on? You okay, man? He was concerned. He'd never seen Seven like this before. Slowly, the other man lifted himself to his feet on shaky legs. Yeah, I'm fine. I just got a little dizzy, that's all. Oh man, is he like, is he, diabetic? His face was pale and his breathing was heavy. Sweat was pouring off his face and staining his shirt. He was many things, but fine was not one of them. Are you sure? You don't look so good. Seven didn't answer. Half of his face was twisted in, as if distorted by extreme pain, and his eyes were glazed. Finally he spoke. What am I doing here? His words made no sense. What are you talking about? We opened the number 2 door and walked in here. Don't tell me you forgot. No, that's not what I mean. He shook his head several times as if trying to clear something from it. It ain't much, but I think some of my memories came back. I think I've been here before. I said I've been in this room before. You were here? When? Why? Oi light Nona? Suddenly Seven was mumbling to himself. There were words Junpei didn't understand. Seven's hoarse voice trailed off, and Junpei couldn't make out what he said. What the hell was that? Seven's brow furrowed furiously, and he ground his teeth back and forth. It's right here. I feel like I'm this close to remembering everything, but I just can't. Seven stopped, frustrated. He pulled his hat off and ran a hand through his hair. Then suddenly he looked up, his eyes wide. "That's right! An experiment! There was some kind of experiment going on this ship." "An experiment? What sort of experiment?" They were trying to control people. Or something like that." Junpei didn't know what to make of Seven's story. Instead, he simply stared at Seven continued. Aoi, Light, Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of them. The kids that were there. In the experiment, I mean. I think there were 4 or 5. But I don't remember all the names. Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here. Seven began to mumble to himself and wander aimlessly around the room. He looked confused. So far as Junpei could tell, the man was simply rambling, but there were odd twitches to his movements. Experiment? Cradle Pharmaceutical. Those kidnapped kids. Was I working that case? Seven continued to mumble to himself about things that meant nothing to Junpei. Junpei didn't have any answers for him, of course. He couldn't understand what was happening to Seven. All he could do was wait. After a few minutes, Seven finally stopped. He crouched down and looked under the bed. His face registered mild surprise, and he began to mumble to himself again. The hole's gone. No, maybe it was a different room. There's gotta be a ton of rooms on this boat that look just like this one. At last, Junpei could contain himself no longer. Hey, what exactly do you remember? Or maybe you could stop talking like a crazy person and tell me what's going on. Seven stood up slowly. Well, it's not like I remember everything. I've only got bits and pieces, but they're scattered and don't make much sense. I don't care. I don't care. Tell me bits and pieces then. Junpei could feel it. Whatever Seven had remembered, it was important, very important. Seven drew a large, muscled hand down across his face. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, he spoke. From what I can remember, I think I was a cop. A cop? Yeah. I was looking for that group of kids that got kidnapped 9 years ago. You remember that, right? It was all over the news. Yeah. I was still in school. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember some of it. I think it was a bunch of kids right around my age. They all just disappeared. No one knew why. It was all over TV and the newspapers every day. So you're saying you were investigating it? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I guess I found something. It was this medical company called Cradle Pharmaceuticals that had something to do with those kids. After I figured that out, I managed to get some information out of somebody who worked for them. They told me a ship would be leaving that night with all the kids on it. They would be taken to some big passenger ship somewhere on the ocean. And so Seven had headed to the wharf. Yo, Seven looking good right here, boy. Seven looking like a big shot. Lupin the Third. He kept to the shadows and before long found the suspicious ship he'd been looking for. There were a number of human shapes There were a number of human shapes moving near the ship. They were men in black suits. Many of them were carrying large bags onto the ship. The bags. There was something about the way they moved as they were carried. There could be no mistake. There were human beings in those bags. He had moved before he even realized he was going to. Out of the shadows he came, his gun already in his hand. He heard the words, "Don't move," but they weren't his. He felt metal touch the back of his head. "Drop your gun." Come the cold voice from behind him. With the words, he felt the cold metal thing behind him press against his skull. Slowly, Seven crouched down and laid his gun onto the ground. Then suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his neck. A needle? Was it some sort of drug? As he was thinking about that, Seven felt his face hit the cold concrete beneath him. He could feel the chill of it seeping into him. He was drugged. Ugh, damn it. Shit, my head hurts. Seven woke up to find himself lying on a hard floor. He twisted his neck to peer around the room. Where am I? There was a small, shabby bed and a dirty sink. A toilet with no stall or privacy of any sort. As a cop, it was a place Seven had seen all too often. I'm in a cell, huh? Opposite the toilet was a door set into the wall. Seven struggled to his feet and hobbled toward it. He gave the door a good shove, then another, and tried to pull it. It didn't open. Well, that was about what he'd expected. It wasn't likely that someone would put him in a cell only to leave it unlocked. He threw himself against the door a few times, but to no avail. I knew it. Seven grumbled to himself as he moved back toward the bed. He sat down. He sat there for a very long time, just how long he wasn't sure. At last he began to nod off and had nearly fallen asleep when he was roused by a distant voice. It's 9. The voice was far away, very far away. Seven couldn't understand what it was saying. Nonetheless, it was a voice, and a high one, most likely a child. His eyes shot open. Here, K-ing. As he listened, he could pick out several different, distinct voices. There were at least 5 or 6, possibly more. Where were the voices coming from? He looked around the room frantically. Perhaps the door. No, that wasn't it. What? Go out. Was it coming from the left? Was it coming from under the bed? He grabbed the bed and flipped it up with ease. Big strong man. There it was. There was a hole for ventilation in the wall, where the bed had been, covered with a metal grate. Seven lay down on his stomach and peered through the grate. He couldn't see anything, it was too dark. Now that he'd found it, however, there could be no doubt this was the source of the voices. For a moment he was confused. Why were there children nearby? Then he remembered what the man from Cradle Pharmaceutical had told him. How a ship would take the kidnapped children from the wharf to a waiting passenger liner out in the ocean. Was Seven on the passenger liner? It didn't matter. What mattered was that he find a way to the children. Seven looked at the metal grate. Could he fit through that hole? He stuck his fingers through the grate and grabbed hold of it.
Yeah, how'd you like that, you son of a bitch?
The dark square sat open before him. Big strong man. Seven wiped the sweat from his forehead, and crawled inside. Junpei waited for Seven to resume his story. The longer he waited, however, the clearer it became that Seven had no intention of doing so. He had gone silent and simply stared off into the air, his eyes blank. Hey, what happened after that? He waited long enough. But Seven shook his head.
I don't remember what happens after that. I think I found some kind of door out of the duct. And I think I found some kids too. Oh man, why can't I remember that? What happened next? Oh man,
what happened to those kids, Seven? Did you save them?
I don't know if it was me. I got this feeling. I think one of the kids died. A girl, I think.
Deep in his heart, Junpei felt something very cold. Seven's head dropped and Junpei saw it, a look of sadness, the likes of which he had never seen on the man before. The large man's eyes blinked rapidly, as if he were fighting back tears, and he swallowed hard. His sigh was like the melancholy setting of an old, abandoned building. He shook his head and spoke.
Anyway, just please don't ask me anymore, okay? I really don't remember anything else.
After that, Junpei could hardly try to force any answers out of the man. There was nothing more he could do. Instead, Junpei turned his mind to try to make some sense of what Seven had told him. The children who had been kidnapped 9 years before. Apparently, a company called Cradle Pharmaceutical had been behind the kidnapping and had taken the children to the ship they were on now. They had been brought to the ship for an experiment. Something to do with controlling human beings, Seven had said. The 16 children who had been kidnapped were the subject for the experiment. Seven had said 3 of their names were Aoi, Light, and Nona. That was the new information. He had also learned that Seven was, or had been, a police officer. Still, there was little he could do with this new information. He'd learned nothing about the nonary game or Zero. He had no idea why he had been brought to the ship that had been the site of those experiments 9 years ago. Junpei couldn't forget what Seven had said the purpose of the experiments had been to control human beings. Could such an absurd experiment really have been conducted? Before long, Junpei realized he had spent quite some time deep in thought. No time for that, he chided himself. He had work to do. Junpei shook his head quickly to clear it and returned to his investigation, thoughts swirling in his head. Ooh.